I think we all know that AI is going to heavily affect language learning and especially making money from it, like translation work. I mean, already you see videos of people getting laid off from their translation work. I mean, AI is genuinely really, really effective in this. I mean, AI can get really, really good at learning languages very quickly. I think this is kind of like a hopeless effort to try and combat that. But I still think there is actually a genuine, real reason why you should still learn a language. And my opinion is that that's because of human connection. Like, I think in the future we're going to really strongly lack human connection. And that's kind of evident by the fact that young people are more isolated now than they've ever been before. I mean, we always kind of had old people being isolated because, as you go through life, it's normal to split off and move country or to die or whatever. And so a lot of your friends will not be there. But for young people, it should be the opposite. I mean, theoretically, we're in workforce, we're in um, communities. We have high school friends, college friends, we have school friends. Like, we have a lot of places we theoretically should be making friends, and also like athletics and all that kind of thing. But nowadays we're the most isolated, even more than seemingly millennials and older generations. And so I think in order to solve that, I think language learning is one of the best ways. Not necessarily just language learning, but like being in a real community where you're really trying to strive for something. I mean, if you look at like past isolated people, at least somewhat, it's normally like before the age of the internet, we're talking about like authors and weird people who maybe are like philosophers. But even they had teachers and pupils and they had peers. And I think this is very important. Like, with your passion, you kind of need some social connection, I think. And I think the internet just really isn't fully good enough to replace that, even right now. And to be honest with you, my opinion is that the internet will only get worse. Like, we're only going to get more and more bots. It's only going to be harder to tell who's a real human and who's not. And this is a real problem, I think, because we need the human connection. We need these hormonal real connections. And then when you start to talk to people in line in the future, and they start asking you for money or whatever because they're a bot trying to make money, that can be a real problem, and you're just looking for a real human connection, but instead you're left in this kind of dark place where you are feeling like everyone's trying to use you. And I think the best thing you can do really is to learn a language and find a real community where you can all work towards a shared goal, and find some real human connection and talk to people in person with that language. Maybe move to that country, do what you can. I think that's one of the best things you can do as a young person. Other than that, I mean, you can replace language learning with like athletics, like playing a sport like basketball, or I don't know, MMA. I really like MMA. I think MMA is great. Um, anything like that, and you're in person, you're doing these things, you're building a real connection, you're talking to people, developing your social skills. I think that's great. And even if you don't find any lifelong or great friends, I think even just the social interaction alone is very, very good. Even with language learning too. It is a big commitment of time, I will say, but I think it's definitely worth it. And if you enjoy it and if you do it in an enjoyable way, like obviously when I'm talking about language learning, I'm not saying just like go and learn from textbooks. I'm talking about more like learn from videos and talk to people in your desired language. Like those apps where you can do kind of language exchange where maybe you teach them English and maybe they teach you Japanese. That kind of thing is great. I mean that maybe will be also infested with bots, but theoretically, the end goal is you want to be in a community by the end, or in person, maybe in that country, talking to real people and using this language to kind of connect. And I think that's almost invaluable in the modern future as the online world becomes more and more infested with bots.